Howdy, everyone. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'll give a couple of minutes for people to trickle in. Get myself situated here. But thanks for joining us, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. I think we have 4 waiting, and then the official YouTube, I think, is still on a delay because I don't see the playback starting on my end. Let's see.
I should open up YouTube too, huh?
Yeah, let's make sure we are actually live.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. This is the Descript Support Q&A. Just a safe space for everyone to hang out and ask questions about Descript, whether you're new to the platform or you're a seasoned user with a bunch of questions. We're here to help. Get my slides situated here, but my name is Salvatore, and we have Gabe here joining us for a little bit. I think you have to run closer to 12, but thanks for hanging out. And
yeah, I'll be here for a while.
Hopefully we can get through some questions. Just get this ready really quick. But just a brief overview who we are. We are members of the support team, and this is for everyone. You can join, ask your questions in the chat box there in YouTube.
Sal, we are still not live on YouTube.
Oh.
Is there another button we have to hit?
I'm seeing that it's on.
It says live, but YouTube is not. We're not live.
Oh no.
It's there. We're live.
Is it working? It's there. Okay, cool.
We have 2 links. Okay, interesting. Why do we have 2 links? Well, welcome for the people who are here using the correct link, I guess. We do have 2 links. Okay, I found it. Great.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, I will go update our users on Discord. Thank you for being here. Sorry for the confusing start to this. It looked like we weren't live because we were looking at the wrong link. And now we fixed it.
Everything's fine. Everything's great. Thanks for joining us, Marvin.
We're doing so good.
All right. Well, just to continue on, if you have any questions, please let us know. We just want to demo them live and go through the questions and hopefully demonstrate, and you can learn something new. To touch on some of the resources that we have our Help Center, where you could find a library of our articles, troubleshooting guides, and specific feature overviews. Right here on YouTube, we also have a wealth of videos that can help show you some tutorials, other feature reviews, announcements, and past webinars. A little bit of our community is located on Discord, Reddit, and Facebook, and live events such as this one can be found on YouTube and Discord. How to get in touch? If you have a question or a specific bug, you can contact us right from the app. You're just going to head to the question mark up to the top right and find the Contact Us button. You could submit a ticket or chat live if you're on a paid account, and we'd be happy to help. And now, on to the questions. If you have them, we would love to see them. Otherwise, we're just going to go through some basic editing and some common workflows. But please feel free to drop in any questions.
Yeah, and if you're in the chat right now, let us know where you're chatting in from, what you're using Descript for. Just start talking, and I'll bet some questions come up. And we got one already. It says, any updates on making split screen layer so you can make universal changes to split screens only? That's a very interesting question, partially because I don't quite understand it. Sal, do you understand it?
Split screen layer. Are you referring to maybe like a sequence where you have a 2-camera setup and you want to make overall changes to the split screen?
Yeah, Or maybe if you're like in a situation like we are right now, like if we had this video as a video in Descript, but we didn't have individual source files, we might have to do a split screen. Host and guest. Marvin, are these separate files? That's the most important question. If they're separate files, you absolutely can make universal changes to them using sequences, I think, unless you're referring to some other function that I'm not familiar with or haven't been told about yet. For a single file, if you had a single file that had two speakers on it, let's say it was like a Zoom meeting or an in-person camera setup where it's just one camera and one file, then you might have to use something like Center Active Speaker, which is a feature we have in Descript. I'm always a little bit loath to recommend that one because it does need some work. Yes, separate files, great. So what you need is sequences. So you need to compile your files into a sequence. And then I believe any changes you make to that sequence are going to apply to both files. So yeah, Sal's got a sequence file up now. Maybe we can recreate this example.
Yeah, I think this would be a similar workflow. This is a multicam edit goes from active speaker to both speakers. Oh, I see. So if you're wanting to change maybe a split screen view across the entire project with only those scenes, I see. I don't think we have a way to affect just a specific type of layer or layout for specific scenes. Is there a workaround?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so if you use automatic multicam, you can set like cutaway values. If you are trying to change a layout universally across a project, you can use the all scenes function to change that layout across the project. But if you're saying that you have separate types of layouts and you need to selectively change those universally, then that might be a problem. So if you were like, hey, I need every other scene to have this change, you might run into issues there. And yes, there are some limits.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of to maybe help speed it up would be copying the layout and pasting it.
Yes.
So for example, I just ran automatic multicam on this project, just a rooms recording that we did. And let's say for all of my split screen scenes, I want myself to be just zoomed in a little bit. So I can't really apply that just to these types of scenes. So you'll see that the other split screens are normal, but I can copy this layout and just paste them over relatively easily, which can help speed up the process. But I think that would be a really cool workflow addition, because with automatic multicam, it does create a bunch of scenes. So
yeah, we are limited in two respects that I bring feedback about all the time, which is like grouping certain types of content. So let's say I wanted to have a group of certain layers, and anytime I make a change to one of those layers, it changes the other layers as well. That really only works when they're living together in a scene right now. So if they're in different timestamps, different places, then we do suffer from some limitations there. You might have some good luck using Underlord prompting to see if it will do it for you, especially if you have pre-built layouts to apply and they're easy to find. Then you could pop into the Underlord chat and maybe say, hey, this isn't a function of any of the existing features, but I'd like to, and just describe in detail what you'd like to happen. And there's a really good chance it'll work. If it doesn't work, call support and we will help. Not call, but chat in web.descript.com/chat. We will help get your credits back, whatever you need. Or you can just revert it. That's always a good option.
yeah, always happy to help on that front. Sort of just show you an example if we were to use all scenes in this scenario. So I'm grabbing just my layer in this scene, selecting all scenes, and if I were to sort of change things up, it would affect it for all scenes. So it's not really the best kind of thing for singling out a specific kind of scene. So, yep, great question. Gonna revert this back to normal. We have a handy dandy version history, which is one of my favorite features. Restore, nothing happened.
It's also a very flexible version history, which I like, which means that if I go back to my December 9th version, let's say, and I'm like, shucks, I actually wanted the February 17 version, I can just go back to, I can load one and it's not going to erase the things after. It's still going to keep that in my list of version history, which is very nice when you're trying to figure out, where you went wrong somewhere or made a change. Very helpful. I do see we're up to 11 viewers for folks who are just joining. This is a support Q&A session. Newer users, ask any basic questions that you might have. Older users, feel free to get into the weeds a little bit because it'll help the newer folks. Throw some questions in the chat and let us know where you're chatting in from.
Yeah. Happy to dive in.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to just go through some basic editing while we wait for people to keep trickling in and ask questions. So I'm just going to do some basic edits on this room's recording. And hopefully we can get to a good spot. So we got a question?
Yeah, Marvin's back. Solo talking head, I like to change from 100% to 120% zoom for visual variety every few paragraphs. Can that be automated? American living in Vietnam. Very cool.
Oh,
I would love to visit Vietnam. It's on my list of places. So let me know where the best place to get lunch is in all of Vietnam.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Okay, so let's put the question back on screen. So he's asking if we can automate zooms. So I believe this is a static zoom, right? So it's just an amount of zoom. Is that saved in scene properties, Sal, if you can recall?
I don't. Let me check.
Would that be part of the layout setup?
I want to say that's like like a layer specific setting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me check. Yeah, it
so
doesn't look like it.
You can copy layer parameters, Marvin. So if you had a specific zoom level, you could hit copy on that layer and then paste special, I think works. We can try it now, verify my thinking here.
Set up a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's zoom in me a little bit. So copy.
Yeah. And Christy, our friend, is confirming that it's kept as part of layouts. So nice.
Perfect. Yeah, paste attributes works as well.
Nice. So yeah, two options. If it's stored within a layout, Marvin, that'll work. And then also pasting properties also works if you want to do it on the fly. Thank you, Christy.
There it goes.
Okay, so you're currently using copy and paste. Yeah, if it's something consistent, save it as a layout, and then that should help. I think with it'll include placeholder layers in your layout usually when you replace it, so it'll just replace your script track with the new content. All right,
yeah.
Get that question off screen. Welcome. See some.
Thanks for joining us. All right, I'm going to get my face off of this project.
Yeah. We just need as many copies of your face on screen as possible at all times. So
I think this is the goal of our Q&A, is just to look at my face. Yeah, that is a great suggestion. Thank you, Christy. So you can select text at both ends where you want a scene, and then press the / to paste the attributes.
Or / to create a new scene. And then
the scene, yeah.
That'll the / brackets that section as your scene, which very helpful. One of the easier ways to create scenes. I tend to drop them myself manually because I tend to be deciding on the fly where I want those to start and stop.
Mm-hmm.
But that's based on the type of project I tend to work on, is a little bit more content creation based than editing based. So I'm usually divining things at the start and making those decisions on the fly. which is a little different. I know Christy tends to do freelance editing work, so he's going to need a lot of like very quick workflows, which is a totally valid use case, and he's one of the best. So if he gives you advice, take it seriously.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe I'll play with Underlord to see if we can get a similar thing but automated. Let's see. Add scenes throughout my project. Apply varying levels of zoom to my script layer. So the fun thing with Underlord is kind of see what you can get, and hopefully, I've done a lot of sort of bulk editing with Underlord, like removing all transitions because we don't really have a function or a button for that. So just trying to see what Underlord can do can be fun. And just sort of let that run in the background. Podcast Manager, very cool.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of our longstanding Descript users joined us as podcast editors, and as we expanded into video, we've brought in kind of a wider variety of folks. Although honestly, the folks who work on podcasts and have been with us for a long time tend to be the most helpful and vocal people in our community. And part of what I do is make sure that their voices get heard internally. So, love to hear from those folks.
It's very important.
Christy's asking if we've reproduced a bug. Custom animation is lost when copying assets or when part of layouts. I haven't had a chance to check that one out yet, Christy. I saw the post on Discord and just have been busy and haven't been able to take a look, but I will be looking at it later today and checking the database to see if anyone else has reported it, and I'll let you know. Just for folks in the chat here who are new and didn't join us from Discord today, you should absolutely join our Discord community. It's a great place to get help from myself, other Descript team members. Our product team tends to look but not talk very often in those channels. And you can get help from the community. You can write up a bug report if you want to. I tend to have folks write into support because at that point it becomes an official like bug report, and posting it in Discord means you're relying on me to make sure that bug gets written up, which I do all the time, but I'm one guy monitoring a whole channel, so the likelihood of making a mistake is higher when you report it into Discord. I'm just going to be honest, because it's not as official of a channel. Those they don't get reviewed like support tickets do. They don't have the back and forth that support tickets do, and they don't get documented as well as support tickets do. So, but yeah, user to user, I totally understand folks deciding to report things in different ways. So, yeah, and Marvin makes a great point here. He says it's tough to test things out in Underlord because I'm too scared to lose AI credits. Well, good news. Basically, all of our support agents here will happily return AI credits for you if you ran into a situation where you got unusable output, completely unexpected output, ran into a bug, all sorts of reasons. We are willing to give you credits back for issues you had using the Underlord chatbot, or frankly any other AI tool if it doesn't perform very well for you. Obviously, if you only have bad experiences and you just write us 700 times, eventually we might go, hey, are you sure you won't even want to use these tools? But otherwise, we're more than happy to come and help.
Yes.
And yeah, we do have some prompting guides available online.
That's a great one.
Yeah, these are super new tools. The billing system for these tools is new. We are insanely sympathetic about it. We will help you, absolutely. Yeah. For new users here, I think the chat bot's your friend. And yes, Christy mentions sometimes Underlord can cause issues in a project. I think usually reversion will get you out of most situations, as well as version history. But I'll be frank, I also, when I want to do something really drastic to a project, even if it's not Underlord, I will make a copy of that project. Because that's what I would do in Pro Tools too. You know, if I were going to do some experiments, I would, let's say, I will probably make a copy to work from. Just that's how I approach things personally. But yes. And Christy, the same deal for you. We will happily get you credits back. I believe we've done some in the past. Cool. And how did that go with your Underlord prompting?
It did okay. It made 3 scenes, which is not what I was expecting. Maybe because this is a sequence, but it did great, different levels of zoom. So it didn't mess up, but it's not exactly what I wanted. So I think refining my prompt a little bit would have had a better output, specifying that I want to have a scene every few paragraphs, or just a little bit more details can always help. So yeah, like we said, we're always happy to credit back in situations where things just don't work right. These are new tools, so we want you to use them, and we want your feedback to make them better. So don't be shy.
So a couple other things with the Underlord chatbot. If you're using it, there is the little square icon. Maybe it looks like a Rubik's Cube to some folks. We have different models that you can use in Underlord. These different models, they do different things or are better at different things. It's a little bit hard to write up guidelines about these things, but if you check the Help Center, we do have some small nudging guidelines for you to look at in terms of how these models perform on different tasks. And what I will say is that with the auto settings, I tend to find that I need to be very explicit in my prompting, and then with some of the other options, sometimes it will be more thoughtful with the output. And all of this stuff is still in beta, so it is absolutely, a little bit of a roll of the dice every time you use it, and that's again why we're willing to return some credits. Let's see. Christy says, using ChatGPT models will mess with the alignment of words versus audio. Anthropic models seem to be better at steering away from that. That's very good to we should probably check that out, to be honest. I know that we do have some pretty good documentation about what does and doesn't work well, and I haven't seen that particular one come up, so I'm gonna look into that after this. And yeah, Christy, we did actually talk about this internally, TBD. But we're thinking about ways to take the burden off of users when something goes wrong with one of these tools. So agreed there. It would be great if you just automatically got your credits back and an agent didn't have to do it for you.
That would be nice. I have to play around with these models. I usually keep it on auto.
Me too. Hasn't
really broken anything for me yet, but I'm pretty manual with my editing. So,
and one helpful bit of info for folks who are a little more advanced with this stuff: the auto model goes to one of the Claude models currently.
And then with a lot of the tools that Underlord pulls from, if you don't maybe want to try out Underlord or you just want to sort of test individual tools, we have the AI tools button here. We can get access to most of the features that Underlord uses. Like crate clips, that's a popular one that I see a lot of. If you're not getting great results with Underlord, you can just click here, add a topic, and sort of specify what you're looking for, and create clips this way. And this can be a little bit more consistent with how many credits you're using, because they're just per use. So that's definitely there. Yeah, these are great questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah, let's get back. As Alex points out, this is a more of a beginner style conversation. So maybe we can just talk about like a little bit about how Descript projects are laid out. Perhaps there's some folks joining us here who aren't super familiar with like the difference between the script and the timeline, for example.
Yeah, let's. I'm going to simplify this project even more and start with just one layer in my project with, I think, most people starting out will just throw a video in there. So I'm just going to throw my lovely face onto the screen again. And we can also take a look at that, Marvin. That's a good question about the screen real estate. So you can expand your timeline by clicking on it this way. There's not really a way to minimize the sort of the track width that I know of. But you can scroll up and down, which can help if you do have layers that are starting to build. Lots of folks don't even use a timeline, so it's really up to preference. So sort of a brief overview if you're getting started with Descript. Anything that's on your script is tied to the media. And you can see that I'm highlighting a word here because this video is transcribed. And it's just a great way to edit your videos instead of scrubbing through, for example. And a lot of this helps feed our AI tools, which can analyze the script.
One thing worth pointing out real quick, Sal, is that you can't adjust the size of the layer like tiles. You can adjust the size of the ratio between the timeline and your layers section. So if you expand your timeline, and then if you hover over the border between the layers lane and the script lane, there should be a sizer there. Yep. So that can be resized.
That can be
so
useful.
maybe that would be helpful for you, Marvin.
Let me throw just some random elements in here. Oh, did notice that our color scheme was updating. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we are on the maroon as of yesterday. Getting a little bit of feedback about it, not as much as I might have suspected, but we are getting a few posts. I want to give it like 2 weeks before I make any declarations on my own feelings.
It's the minimum. It's the minimum. Got to get to know it.
Okay, so Emily is coming in with some questions about creating templates. One thing worth noting is that Descript is funny, and we use the term layouts to refer to probably the thing you're thinking of when you refer to templates. Real quickly, just for reference, in Descript, templates currently refer to prompts that you submit to Underlord. You access those from the home screen. Could we just pop over there real quick just to illustrate the difference here? Great. So this is the home screen. And from here, you can see these templates at the bottom: clean up recording, generate an avatar. And then we have the browse more template setting or button. And then from here, you can create new prompts for Underlord, or use existing prompts that we have pre-built for you and done some testing with, and hopefully work pretty good. So you could put your pre-prompt in here if you're doing your, the same type of project over and over again. Get your prompt example, do some refinement, try it a few times, and then use it over and over again. You're probably, however, referring to layouts, which you can find in several places. The first would be within a project. Any section of your project is considered a scene. You can create multiple scenes, and each of those scenes can have different layouts. Let's take a look at the sidebar, Sal. I'll let you talk since you're driving.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, that's a great distinction because I used to always mess up layouts and templates, so that's a great call out.
Yeah, we kind of do it backwards, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. So like Gabe mentioned, scenes are just ways to segment your video. So in this case, I've added, let's say I want to make this my intro, this little section here, and I'm going to build it from scratch and hopefully reuse this setup for future videos. I'm just going to start adding some elements here, maybe a title, my fun podcast. Gonna make this really nice just for you. And some images. And instead of building this out every single time for every scene, this is where a layout would come into play. And let's just pretend like this is my logo. I'll just put that off into the corner. And let's throw some music on there. Why not? And if you're not familiar with the properties button, this is really important. It's a really, really useful tool for anything that you have selected on your editor. So if I'm clicking on this image, it'll show me the properties for this image. This title element, it'll show me the settings and parameters for that, and my script track, so on and so forth. So if you really need to dig into the settings of a particular element or layer, that's what you would use. Where is my music? Did it go in? Oh, still importing. Okay.
Still importing. Interesting. Every once in a while, I get a track that won't load. Very annoying.
It's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
Elevate Your Love. It's the winner. Let's see if this will. Let me do it. There we go.
Cool.
Upbeat indie instrumental.
Very cool. My favorite band.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume this is gonna be really loud, so I'm gonna go to properties like I mentioned earlier and just turn down the volume.
Smart move.
By a lot. So let's say this is set up the way I like it, and I want to reuse this little intro in my future.
So fun. I'm gonna watch that podcast now.
Super fun. The way to save this is you're gonna click on the scene thumbnail, so this little film strip looking thing here. You can also do it from the script as well. So if you just right click on the scene thumbnail on either the script or timeline, you can save this as a layout. So I'm saving the scene that I built.
Sal, can you move your mic a little closer?
Oh,
you're cutting out a little bit. I thought it was that other mic behind you.
I tried to use this earlier, but the system audio was
okay, cool. Oh, good. Much. Yeah, it was just getting noise canceled a little bit.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Much better now.
Perfect. So I'm saving this scene as a layout for future use. I'm gonna call this my fun podcast intro. Well, better late than never. Elevate Your Love. Don't need you anymore. And this is where you would choose the type of scene it would be. I'm just going to call it an intro because that's what I'll use it for. And this is where you'll save it to a layout pack. So a layout pack is a collection of layouts. So you can sort of build, if you have several, layouts that are going to be in use for a particular project, you could bunch them into a layout pack. I'm going to create a new one and just call this one my podcast layouts. All right, so I'm just going to double check that all my layers in this scene are going to be saved and save. Just give that a moment to populate. There we are. And let's say I open up a brand new project, and instead of doing all that work, I'm going to apply that layout. So I'm going to click on my scene here. So this is a brand new scene, nothing on it yet. And let's apply a layout. So you'll see it pops up now, intro. And there it is. And it will be.
Oh, sorry. I just unmuted myself there. I didn't.
Oh, no problem. That's okay. And it'll just add all the layers back in and get you up and going.
So. Yeah, layouts are a super useful system. Again, yeah, sorry that we call them layouts and not templates, but now you know the difference. Let's get that question off screen now. Cool. Anyone else with questions, please throw them into the chat. We are live for another 25 minutes or so. Well, Sal is. I'm here for another 10. So,
yes. Looks like Marvin has a question. Or I don't use this view. Scene panel on the left is better to figure out. Oh, okay. So you're probably talking about our older timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have an old version of the timeline that you can access through the labs toggle. We've left this in place because basically for exactly the reason Marvin is mentioning. There is a group of users who really rely on a scene sidebar that exists in the old system. If you click the storyboard view, maybe Sal, we can show. So we have this version of it now. This used to be sort of always on the left hand side, and so we're working on maybe a way to improve this view and make it more flexible for users like Marvin who really like that old sidebar. But yeah, hopefully in the near future we will have some updates for you that improve the experience. Long term, like this timeline view is what's going to be the timeline view, so we want to make sure it works for everyone. Emily, following up on the layouts and layers question. So it applies all layers other than the scene. Yeah, so it's looking for whatever content you have, Emily. So if you have existing layers that would take the same slot as something that's already in the layout, it's going to try and replace those layers with those things. And you can label layers with their function to sort of let the layout pack applier application. It's the thing that makes the layout apply to your scene internally. It's what we call it, the refactor, I believe. That has individual settings for each layer saying this is B-roll, this is a lower third, this is a talking head, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a great question. For example, let's do it on a completely different video file. Because in my case, for the layout that I just made, there we go. Just took a minute. If I apply that layout to this video where Trevor is now on the script, not myself, I'm going to show you how it works. It'll keep Trevor there since that's what's on the script track. So it's keeping all of the other elements, adding them, and then the script track will remain in place, which is really handy. Trevor has a fun podcast too. It's what we live for.
It's the fun podcast, brothers.
Yeah. Okay. These are great questions. Keep them coming. I'm just going to start maybe fooling around with some generative media because it's always fun to create stuff. I feel like we keep updating these, making them better. So if you haven't experimented with them yet, and let's say you're looking for a specific type of B-roll, and you've searched our stock media library, you're just not finding it, you can generate them using AI. So under AI tools, you could also ask Underlord to create them for you. But we're just going to go to... There we go. Under looks good. We're going to generate a video. And this is where you can change the model. You have a bunch of models to choose from. I'm going to be a big spender today and pick Kling version 3 Pro. And you can change the aspect ratio and duration, but we'll just leave it at that. And you can generate media this way. From Foy Vision.
We canceled each other out.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Will you add support for Descript rooms to work on mobile browsers and or create a Descript mobile app that allows people to use their phones to record directly into rooms?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, complicated. Short answer, it's not necessarily going to be a mobile app or something like that, but we do want to support mobile recording. It's one of the big unresolved feature requests that separates Squadcast from rooms, and we want to get it as soon as possible. I don't know when though, so hopefully later this year. I think you can attempt to do it, but it probably won't work. Is kind of the current vibes I've heard. I wouldn't try right now, to be honest. But it is forthcoming. We just don't know the exact date yet.
Yes.
And for people who aren't familiar, Rooms is our collaborative recording system. Sorry to cut you off. So.
Oh no, that's okay. That's a great point because I ran into a similar issue recently when a guest used an iPad to join, and it recorded okay, but the audio input kept switching from their AirPods next to their in the next room. So it's one of those things where you don't have as much control as you do on a desktop. So
Right.
use a desktop whenever possible.
We did just launch advancements to project views in on mobile devices, FOIA Vision. I know it's not what you're looking for right now, but cool development. You can now play back projects and export them on the web, add comments, that sort of stuff. Still not full editing yet, but useful for your collaborators and such to take a look at your stuff.
Yeah, you'd love to see it.
You do.
All right. I'm gonna just generate a video while we're waiting for some questions to trickle in. Moving truck speeding down the highway. This is my favorite prompt. If you've joined before, make it blue with a bald eagle chasing after it. I want this to be cinematic, so I'll just let that generate in the background. So yeah, this is a great way to create a specific B-roll clip that you don't have access to. Instead of going out and filming it or settling with stock media, this is a great way to get what you're looking for. And it does take a little bit of time, especially with these more advanced models.
Yeah, the only, well, I shouldn't say the only. Let's say the one that's affected me the most issue with AI tools is there's a lot of waiting involved. Some of them work very, very quickly. Sometimes the results are like, okay, great, I'm so glad I waited for that. But yeah, there is this kind of anticipation when you hit submit and you're like, how long is this going to take? Am I going to be happy? Like, these are all the to be resolved issues, I think, with AI tools in general. But yes.
Okay, so well, I'm gonna give that a moment to just load, but I think we'll move on for a little bit with some basic editing that you could do to your script using AI tools. I think I showcased earlier, if you highlight a word or phrase on the script and delete it, that'll delete the associated media. So this speeds up your process. Instead of scrubbing, you can just read your script and do it that way. But the cool thing with having your video file or audio file transcribed is you can utilize our tools here, such as edit for clarity, remove filler words, remove retakes. So this basically analyzes your script and makes the edits for you. So I'm going to let's start with remove filler words, for example. And instead of me reading through this entire script, which is about 10 minutes long, I'm just going to click that button. And you can see that it has 32 results already. And I'm pretty confident in this, so I'm just going to remove them all. And with just a click of a button, I've edited this down. And edit for clarity is useful for more sort of overall general edits. I'm going to keep it at medium for this example. But basically, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have to jump from the stream. It was so nice being here with everybody. Sal is going to take you through to the end. Please keep peppering him with your questions. Have a good one, all.
Thanks for joining us, Gabe.
Thank you.
See you later. All right, by myself now, and I'm going to edit this project. So continuing on, using Medium is probably a good place to start. It's not too many edits, and we're going to go ahead and click submit and get an example of what Descript pulls up. All right. 69 edit suggestions. And for this, you can review these individually and either decline them or accept them. Or if you feel pretty confident with the suggestions made, you can go ahead and click done, and it'll keep all the edits. So already we've gone from roughly an 11-minute video down to 9 minutes. So let's go ahead and play this back and sort of see what it sounds like.
Wow, that's a big change. How'd you want to talk us through the steps? Did you rent a truck? Did you just like lug the furniture one by one?
You know, there were a lot of options, and I think what worked best for us was, never mind this layout that I applied from a previous one, but you can see it edits down the script and makes it more easy to understand. It flows a little bit better. So that's a great way to speed up your workflow as well. In terms of layouts, we touched on this earlier a little bit, but using automatic multicam is really useful for sequences where you have multiple files like this. So this is a rooms recording, and I could easily just create scenes manually and change the layout. But if you have a 2-person or a 3-person setup, however many you have, I believe the limit is 10 for automatic multicam. I'll have to double check that, but using automatic multicam will just analyze your script and use the speaker labels to change the angle of the video. So this could really speed up your workflow if you have a podcast or interview like this. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of our settings here. Style is going to be automatic. And that just means it'll show the active speaker and occasionally do a split screen. If you want to just keep it on active speaker, you could switch it over to that. But I like having a little bit of dynamic there. Cutaways is when it pans to the other speaker for a reaction or so. You could do frequent or none. I'm going to keep that occasional. And the layout pack, it's going to suggest the multicam full screen. So we'll go ahead and keep that and click submit. And just to zoom out and show you what Descript has done, we went from about 4 or 5 scenes to about 93. So this is a really, really useful tool for speeding up, making edits like this that can be tedious. And just to give you an example of what it looks like, I'll go ahead and play it.
Yeah, I've heard of pods, of course.
Super flexible. They dropped it off. We had like a week to fill it up, and it was relatively smooth. Like we took our time, got it all filled up. They picked it up, and we could just focus on getting our house cleared out and ready for people to rent. And then we did end up getting another small. So very cool. You'll see that it goes from a split screen and just all throughout your project. And it looks great to me. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that. We don't have an undo button for automatic multicam specifically, but if you Control Z right after submitting it, you can usually revert back. Or as we mentioned earlier, we have the version history if you decide not to commit to that. But very, very useful tool. We haven't really touched on audio quality yet. So if you're like me, I usually don't use an external mic for basic recording or like screen shares, but we do have a feature called Studio Sound that can improve your audio quality. And this works specifically for voices. I've had some users try it on music tracks and it just completely cancels out the music. So it's good to keep in mind that this is for speech. So I'm going to go ahead and apply Studio Sound to this project. And playing with the intensity can be important because sometimes depending on your recording situation, if there's a lot of room echo or ambient noise, it can cut off the end of your words, so you can adjust the intensity. I'm just going to play it back and give you an example of before and after here. Way down to Phoenix.
Wow. How long did the drive take?
We broke it up into 3 days with the cats and the kids.
That's fair.
That's just fair. Made more sense. So you'll see that just sounds louder, a bit compressed, just really even, and a lot better. So I'm going to turn it off and to compare.
Take.
We broke it up into 3 days with the cats and the kids.
That's fair.
That's just fair. Made more sense. So you'll see it gets rid of the echo as well. So that's really useful if you have a less than ideal recording setup and you just want to quickly improve your recording. It's one of my favorite features. And I feel pretty good about this right now. I think the last thing I'd want to add to a project like this is captions. So if you're sharing this on social media or YouTube, it's important to have captions so people can read along. Doing so is pretty easy. We have this captions button to the right, and you can choose from one of our sort of pre-made templates here. And my favorite here is the 2-word bold, but I think for a longer format recording like this, I'm going to go with classic and just apply that. And we'll see how this looks.
With moving.
Certainly am. I've just completed.
And there we are. Easy as that. If you want to sort of adjust the parameters of this, as mentioned earlier, you can go to properties while the caption layer is selected. And you can change the font, the position, the style, visual effects, stuff like that. So you could really tweak it to your liking. And let's say you're done with this and you're sort of ready to share it. We're going to do that using export. If you haven't exported a video yet, this is how you get your completed project out of Descript. And it's going to default to this web link, which is really useful. It's a quick way to publish your video. It'll have a unique share link that you can send to others. And you could also download the video from here. But if you want to do a local export and save it to your computer, you just click on that and change it to local export. And it gives you a bit more flexibility as far as controlling the export parameters. So you can mess with the audio, metadata, quality, stuff like that. And usually I recommend WebLink because it's a little bit faster, but local export is very useful as well. So that's how you would share your project. And in addition, we have a lot of integrations here. If you're sharing to YouTube directly, we have Google Drive, Headliner, Podbean, and some other popular platforms. So definitely give that a try if you're working on your first project. We want you to share them. So get this over here. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. If any last minute questions before we wrap it up here. We will be back here every Tuesday at 11 PST. So bring your questions and we'd be happy to answer them and go through them live. Yeah, so I think this is a good spot to end. Yeah, we'll see you next week. If you have any specific questions or trouble, please create a support ticket and we'd be happy to help. Otherwise, we will see you here next week on Tuesday, and hope you have a great rest of your day.